Hello, and welcome to this brief overview of how learning works at the University of Kentucky College of Pharmacy. When you think about taking college courses, this may be what you imagine: sitting in a lecture, listening, taking notes. But when you read the research on learning and how the brain works, what you find is that such an approach yields very little actual long-lasting, flexible, deep learning, the kind of learning you will need to transition from being a student of pharmacy to becoming a professional working pharmacist. This is in part why the University of Kentucky College of Pharmacy has updated its curriculum. This new curriculum has been years in the making and is the first major change to the PharmD curriculum at UK since 1996. Our new approach was designed with these 5 key concepts of learning in mind. Let's look at each one in more detail. At the heart of our curriculum is the idea of learner-centered teaching. For most of us, when we think about classrooms and teaching, we think of the teacher-centered classroom. Traditionally, teaching has focused on the teacher. The teacher has the power and the knowledge. The teacher's plans focus on what the teacher will do and say, primarily transmit information, and the teacher makes all the major decisions. In this model, it's the teacher who is active, and it's the teacher who has agency in the classroom. The learner-centered approach flips that notion upside down and puts the learner at the center of the action in the classroom. We know from the research that deeper learning occurs when we do something with the information, not when we just listen. In the learner-centered approach, students learn by engaging with the content, each other, and their professors. The key idea with this approach is that the one who does the work does the learning. Therefore, learning becomes a cognitive and social act of constructing meaning by solving problems, analyzing data, asking questions, and engaging in similar tasks and behaviors of successful working pharmacists. This shift to a learner-centered approach to teaching means you will be doing more active learning in your courses. According to Bonwell and Eisen, active learning is anything that involves students in doing things and thinking about the things they are doing. Felder and Brent go on to say that active learning is anything course-related that all students in a class session are called upon to do other than simply watching, listening, and taking notes. So what does that mean for you? It means that in order for you to learn, you need to do the work. You will be asked to do more than just sit and listen for 50 or 75 minutes. You will be expected to come to class prepared to participate, to contribute, to speak up, to elaborate, and to defend your ideas. You will be asked to put information you've read or heard about into practice to prepare you for leaving the classroom with the skill you'll need to continue educating yourself throughout your career as new drugs and drug information become available. You will also be asked to work in groups quite often. Whatever your past experience has been with group work, remember, you have to learn to work with others. You have to learn how to deal with all types of people. As a professional pharmacist, your ability to communicate effectively and clearly with other healthcare professionals, as well as with patients, is essential. Working in groups now gives you the opportunity to hone those much-needed communication skills. Saying that we focus on higher-order thinking is another way of saying that we expect you to do more than memorize and regurgitate facts on a test. We know that that kind of behavior does not lead to significant learning, nor does it prepare you well for your pharmacy career. This is Bloom's taxonomy, which categorizes intellectual behavior related to learning. Much of your education to this point has asked you to remember and recall facts, or explain your general understanding of concepts. While this foundation is important, it's not enough. Most of that information can be looked up easily and quickly online. At the University of Kentucky College of Pharmacy, we expect that you will be able to do those things on your own, so that you can do the more important work of applying that information to new situations. What pharmacists need to do are those things that can only be done by a person, requiring the kinds of thinking represented at the top of Bloom's taxonomy. Creating, evaluating, and analyzing content are more important than simply memorizing facts to pass a test. In other words, it's less about what you know than about what you can do with what you know. Those higher order thinking skills also require students to engage in metacognitive learning activities. So let's take a moment to discuss what that means for you as a learner. In a nutshell, metacognition is thinking about your thinking. It's about being aware of what you know and what you don't know. It's being able to plan your strategies for what you need to do next and how in order to reach your goal. And it's also being able to monitor your progress in a real, balanced way without being too easy or too harsh in your self-evaluation. When you engage in metacognitive activities, you develop a clear-eyed view of where you are, where you want to be, and how you're going to get there. Here are some simple metacognitive strategies you can use. When reading, stop periodically to notice whether or not you've comprehended the material you just read. Then, modify your approach as needed. Generate your own questions as you read and answer them. Quiz yourself by putting all of your materials away and then writing down everything you remember. Then pull your materials out, review them, and look for gaps. Look for places where you didn't quite understand like you thought you did. When you start reading a chapter, skim through it first. Look at the subheadings, look at the charts, the graphs, the pictures. This will help prepare you to dig deeper into the information. Determine if your study behaviors are truly yielding the results you want and adapt as necessary. And finally, learn from your mistakes by analyzing where you went wrong. All of these strategies will help make you more aware of how you're learning and what you need to do to improve. Our last key concept is self-regulated learning. According to Linda Nilsson, who wrote the book on it, learning is about one's relationship with oneself and one's ability to exert the effort, self-control, and critical self-assessment necessary to achieve the best possible results, and about overcoming risk aversion, failure, distractions, and sheer laziness in pursuit of real achievement. This is self-regulated learning. In other words, self-regulation involves your ability to control what only you can control, yourself, in order to maximize your learning. Motivation, time management, monitoring your own progress, adjusting your study habits and strategies as needed, seeking help, analyzing how your choices impact your success. All of these behaviors lead to student success, and all are under your direct control. Be forewarned. This shift in expectations may be uncomfortable at first, but it is worth it in the long run. When you feel frustrated with the process, just remember what the research on learning tells us. We are poor judges of when we are learning well and when we're not. When the going is harder and slower and it doesn't feel productive, as learners we are drawn to strategies that feel more fruitful, unaware that the gains from these strategies are often temporary. Change is never easy for any of us. Keep in mind, we're not trying to torture you. Our goal is to help you transition from novice to expert. We will be asking you to leave your comfort zone so that you can grow and develop into a 21st century professional pharmacist. Welcome.